Foamfoot, Louisa, Anthony, Lucinda, Hector, good morning. Wednesday, midweek. My goodness. Kevin Durant last night plays the entire game, does not miss a minute, plays all 48 minutes, goes for 49 points, 17 rebounds, 10 assists, a triple-double for Kevin Durant as the Brooklyn Nets come from way back and beat the Milwaukee Bucks 114-108, take a 3-2 lead in that Eastern Conference semifinal series. Teams that go up 3-2 in an NBA best-of-7 series win that series 82% of the time. That's why Game 5s are so huge, and there are two more Game 5s tonight in the NBA. We'll get into those. If you're an Astros fan, and I'm an Astros fan, what a 10th inning at-bat, game winner, walk-off grand slam for Jose Altuve. Jose Altuve, bottom of the 10th inning. Astros down 3-2 to the Texas Rangers. Not for long. Walk-off grand slam. Lots to talk about. Charles Barkley in the news and in hot water in regard to his multi-year comments about big San Antonio women. We'll get into that. A woman in Austin who is not big. She's in outstanding shape as always. The lovely and talented Shannon Salty Sweeney. How are you on this Wednesday morning?
I'm doing fantastic. I'm doing wonderful. I love waking up and seeing that a Longhorn has dominated at what he does best, which is the game of basketball. Kevin Durant has had enough of all the naysayers and all of the people who thought the Bucks would maybe come by and get this series from the Nets. He decided, you know what? I'm going to do it all myself. We talked yesterday. I said Blake Griffin needed to contribute, and he tried. He did his best, but it's hard to grab boards when your buddy Kevin Durant is grabbing 17. It's hard to make assists, James Harden, when your buddy Kevin Durant is making 10. It's hard to score points when Kevin Durant puts up 49 to bring the Nets to within one game of moving on to the Eastern Conference Finals. A bit of a downfall in part of the Bucks, right? They lost a huge lead. They really weren't playing all that well, but Kevin Durant wanted it more. He wanted it more than everybody, even on his own team. We've got the newest meme available to us in the sports world. Kevin Durant being embraced by Steve Nash is the best picture on the internet this morning. If you haven't seen it, go check it out. It'll be memed and all over the place this morning. You would have thought they have won the championship right then and there. Kevin Durant, unstoppable. What a force. Hook 'em horns. Way to represent. I think he's had enough. I think they're going to go take it in Milwaukee at this next game, Chris.
I get that feeling too. I get the feeling this really just tore the heart out of the Milwaukee Bucks. I think the lead was 17 for the Bucks in this game throughout, 3 quarters. It really looked like this game was the Bucks for the taking. But as you mentioned, Shannon, maybe the greatest performance. I'd be hard-pressed if you can find a better one. Anybody listening, Kevin Durant in the NBA and in his 1 year in college at Texas, playing all 48 minutes. That was only the third time in Kevin Durant's NBA career that he played every single second of an NBA game, all 48 minutes. And as Shannon mentioned, 17 rebounds, a triple-double, 49 points, 17 rebounds, 10 assists. And you mentioned Steve Nash, Shannon, and the photo of Kevin Durant and Steve Nash sharing a moment after the game. How good is it to be Steve Nash? We've talked about him, no head coaching experience, just step on in. Come on down, Steve Nash. You can be the head coach. And if Durant plays like this in Milwaukee, or in a potential 1 or 2 games left in this series, and then on to the Eastern Conference Finals against either Atlanta or Philly, and then on to the finals. My goodness, especially if, and James Harden, although you look at his stat line last night, Harden played 46 minutes. came back.
I wouldn't know it.
No. Well, the stat line would say you wouldn't know it, but just having James Harden in there for 46 minutes, having his presence on the court, having his facilitating there on the court, I mean, you look at his plus minus, and granted, that whole plus minus, you've got to give it to Kevin Durant, but if Harden gets healthy, and his coming back and playing 46 minutes last night, I think is a good sign, although his box score, not so good. And then if they get Kyrie back, either in the Eastern Conference Finals or in the finals, my God, these Brooklyn Nets are going to be hard to stop by anybody.
Yeah. And after last night, you don't even know if they need him. And you're right. James Harden did not score very well last night. He only put up 5 points. He was having a hard time, which is understandable when you don't have your legs underneath you, right? Because he's dealing with that hamstring. But he did pass the ball well with 8 assists. So he definitely contributed. And I think just having him there on the floor, because I think that was, throughout the season, it's never really been all three all too often. It's always been two of them. So to go from two to thinking we may only get one was probably a kind of mental aspect to the game. And then for him to come in, I think he just boosted that team up just a little bit. And it gives them enough to, when you have both guys on the floor, you still have to guard James Harden like he's James Harden, whether or not he's playing like himself or not.
Yeah.
Which then allows KD to do KD things.
Yeah, and just looking at James Harden's numbers, I mean, they look, just if you're looking at his shooting and scoring, god awful. He played 46 minutes. He was 1 of 10 from the field. 1 of 10. Shannon, you or I might have been able to go 1 of 10. If you and I went into that game and jacked up 10 shots, we might hit one.
Nail one.
We might hit one. Harden was 0 of 8 from three-point country. He went to the free throw line 3 times, hit all his free throws.
Yeah.
6 rebounds. They were all defensive rebounds. 8 assists. So he was facilitating a bit. That's second in assists on that roster to Kevin Durant, who had 10 assists. And again, plus minus in a game you win by 6. And Kevin Durant had a +6 because he was in the whole game. You had a +4 for James Harden. So I agree with you that, when he's on the court, you've got to respect him and guard him like he's James Harden, because he is. But numbers wise, not good. But hey, final result, scoreboard. And yeah, all credit to Kevin Durant. 114-108. Brooklyn wins. They take a 3-2 lead. And as I mentioned, teams up 3-2 in a 7-game series in the NBA go on to win that series 82% of the time. Things looking very good for the Brooklyn Nets. And once again, as it did with the 0-2 hole that they dug themselves in the first 2 games in Brooklyn, Shannon, the Milwaukee Bucks looking in bad shape once again. And you mentioned this yesterday, and it continues in this series. The home team has won every game in the series. But as you just said, and I agree with you, I got a feeling Milwaukee's going to lose Game 6 at home.
We can't praise one Longhorn and not talk about the other, who disappeared last night for the Bucks, PJ Tucker. Chris Middleton has still been stepping up. He's still proving that he's worth something to that Bucks organization. But PJ Tucker, who, of course, got into it a little bit with Kevin Durant during that Game 4, I don't know where he went, but he only had 4 rebounds, and that's the only stat you'll really see from him last night.
Oh my God.
0 points, 0 assists. James Harden wasn't James Harden, but it really didn't matter when you have a guy like PJ Tucker on the floor who's only putting up 4 assists for the entire game.
33 minutes, no points for PJ Tucker. 0 of 3 from the field.
What are you there for?
God.
Like you said, you and I could probably go 1 of 10 from the field. I think you and I could, if we were only there to facilitate assists, I think we could do 4.
Yeah, and I know, I have no doubt, Shannon, you and I could go 0 and 3 in 33 minutes.
Oh, yes, absolutely.
We could definitely go 0 and 3.
I'd put money. I put my house on that. Are you kidding me?
Oh man, Giannis Antetokounmpo. If Kevin Durant did not have a godlike performance, Giannis's numbers were good. Giannis 14 of 22 from the field. Giannis played 42 minutes. Chris Middleton played 45 minutes. Giannis scores 34 points, gets 12 rebounds, a double-double. Chris Middleton again. He scored 25, only 8 of 22 from the field. For Chris Middleton, 3 of 10 from three-point country. He needed to be a little better shooting the ball, and in a 6-point loss, if he was just a little better shooting the ball, maybe the Bucks win this game. 25 points, 5 rebounds for Chris Middleton. So 34 for Giannis, 25 for Middleton. Still not enough as the Bucks lose this game.
It was incredible. Super excited for this. What I think will be the final game, Game 6 in this series, and the Nets need it. They need to continue resting Harden. They need Kyrie to get better. I don't really know what his outlook is as far as him returning for either the Eastern Conference Championship or the finals, but they could certainly use him because Kevin Durant is a superstar and he comes to play every night. But that specific performance, I don't know how often you're going to see that.
Well, and this just makes you wonder, and a lot of people said this, Shannon, about the Brooklyn Nets. The three of them, due to injury and load management, I think it was 4 games they played in the regular season. The Brooklyn Nets kind of just coasted and waited for the playoffs, and then they get to the playoffs, and then you got to deal with a James Harden injury and now a Kyrie Irving injury. But Kevin Durant makes the case for I can turn it on when I need to turn it on. And he certainly turned it on maybe in the biggest way in his career last night. It makes you wonder if something like this for superstars like Kevin Durant is an argument for load management. So when it really mattered, and it really mattered last night, it was kind of a must. You look at that 82% statistic that you need to take game 5 to go on and win a series when it's tied 2-2. When he needed to turn it on, Kevin Durant did it. And so, I mean, my goodness, you observe, I don't like load management, and obviously Kawhi Leonard is the poster boy for load management, but for superstars, when you need them, if they can deliver the goods like Kevin Durant did in a clutch moment last night, maybe it makes a little bit of sense. I hate to admit that.
Yeah, and you're right. Kyrie poster boy for load management, and also like he had a lot of personal absences as well throughout the season. But I think you still have that difference between a guy like Kevin Durant and a guy like James Harden or Kyrie, right? I mean, Kevin Durant will step up no matter what, right? And James Harden known for leaving his team and not being able to get it done in the playoffs. I mean, even after this year, I don't think that changes his narrative with the injury still being naggy. But to see him at least take the floor last night when it was Steve Nash said it was his decision whether or not he was going to play, for him to step up and say, I can't go full out, but I can contribute. Let me contribute. I think was a sign and a push for the right direction of people getting back on teams. James Harden.
Yes, and with that percentage of 82%, teams winning Game 5 in a 2-2 series in the NBA, as we mentioned, 2 Game 5s tonight. Early one, 6:30 on TNT. Philadelphia hosting the Atlanta Hawks. Those teams tied 2-2. Your late game, 9 o'clock tonight on TNT at Vivint Smart Home Arena in Salt Lake City, Utah. The Utah Jazz hosting the LA Clippers. Again, that one is at 2-2. Kind of setting the table for what's coming at you this morning. We got a lot of fun stuff. Not only will we once again in the first half of the 8 o'clock hour give away Eric Clapton tickets. Eric Clapton coming to the Frank Irwin Center in Austin on September 15th. But Shannon, speaking of music, less than an hour from now, just after 7 o'clock, the iHeart Music Festival, which has had just big names and big acts, including your boy, Justin Timberlake at one point. We're going to have a major live announcement coming just after 7 o'clock.
Yeah, and I mean, we've been getting festival announcements back to back to back, it seems like, for a couple weeks now that things are opening up and all these festivals are coming back to life, and they have all been huge. So this one, is going to be big. For my sake, I'll be a little disappointed with how big it is because I'm on my vacation, so I won't be able to take part. But we talk sports every day, Chris. Sometimes I forget that we're part of this company that does performances and musics and events like this so well. That we're part of the bigger scheme.
Yeah.
That is iHeartRadio, and we're not just on talking sports, right? We've got other things going on, and it's just one of the really cool events that we do.
It is. And over the years, it's really cool to have seen how much iHeart and iHeart Radio this iHeart Music Festival has just grown and grown and grown, and it's big. And I would imagine now, coming off the big pandemic year, it's probably going to be a big deal. So what's going to happen is just after 7:00, the lineup will be announced live. You'll hear it. Shannon and I then will react to it. We'll see if any names that Shannon really digs or I really dig are on there. So anyway, that's coming up just after 7:00. You can join us throughout the morning on no guests scheduled this morning. So what that means is you can be our guest on the phone line at any time of your choosing. Phone number 800-707-9760. In fact, remember that number when we give away the Eric Clapton tickets in the 8:00 hour. You're going to want that phone number, 800-707-9760. Lots of people joining us on Facebook Live. It's another way you can participate in the show. And when you participate on Facebook Live, you're hanging out with cool cats and cat women as well from around the world and across the great state of Texas. I see most recently Joe Leal, Clint Proctor, Hector Gomez, Luisa Alanis, John Williams from Dallas, Ralph Balderas, Steve Duraco, and others. Thanks for joining us. That's on AM 1300 The Zone and Ticket 760's Facebook page with a portal through YouTube and Twitch. Coming up, also Charles Barkley. It's been a running gag on TNT for years. Charles Barkley poking fun at the women of San Antonio, calling them big, among other things. He has now apparently been told, no mas. You can't do it anymore, Sir Charles. In fact, Shannon, well, we'll tell you what. It motivates, since I'm late, we'll wait till the next segment. It is motivating our poll question this morning, and Shannon will tell you what the poll question is coming up. A little bit later, Shannon's Salty Shakedown, sports history, sports birthdays, and more. And next, the high five play of the day. Going to a quarterback in the NFL, I do believe. We'll find out what that's all about. She's Shannon Salty Sweeney. Dave Ayler, your soundscape stylist. We'll talk to Dave coming up as well. With you till 9. Lots of fun stuff going on. You're listening to The Chris Duel Show. Jason Paniagua. Foam Foot 420. You got in here first this morning. Lucinda Sullivan. God, that's loud. That's so loud. That's just loud. Okay, I think I found that Charles Barkley audio. Where did that go? Let's see.
If you crack a joke around Ray, they're like, oh, no. You crossed the line. I mean, they don't even let me talk about San Antonio anymore. You know what I'm always talking about, them big old women down in San Antonio? They're like, so we got one lady wrote an article. Like, first of all, I didn't call anybody personally fat in San Antonio. I was just joking around. And well, this one lady wrote this article, and like, so y'all gonna let one lady. We've been having fun with this for probably 10, 15 years. and when we go to San Antonio, the people are having a blast with it. I mean, the people in San Antonio, they had T-shirts made up. Now, I mean, I don't have to go back there anymore for their team stuff. My life is big. If you crack a joke around Ray, they're like, oh, no. You crossed the line. I mean, they don't even let me talk about.
Okay, I found that audio. I'm going to send you. Yeah, it's 48 seconds. Oh, cool. Okay, cool. Thanks, sir. Yeah, we may get there this segment. If not, maybe in the first half of the 7. Sure, let's do that. We'll do that, and then I'll tease it. Then we'll get into a high five, and then we'll do it, and then we'll play it. That's a good idea. Cool, man. All right. I'm going to grab coffee. Oh! Make my Houston Astros logo more prominent. As Jose Altuve with a walk-off grand slam yesterday. Last night, to be more accurate. Still drinking the Black Rifle coffee. Thank you, Joel Cologne. It's lasted me like, this is the second or the third week. It's quite good. Good morning, Jesse Bratton. Jesse Bratton says, good morning, y'all. Barkley is a clown. Leave our wonderful women alone. Then, Jesse, you say, boo, Astros. You're defending San Antonio women, but you're attacking the Houston Astros. Come on. Come on, Jesse. You're going to make me pull out cardboard Breggy. Thank you, Pendejo. AKA Tracy Bogart. Was your Tracy Bogart account thrown off of Twitter again, man? Or I mean Facebook? Tracy keeps getting banned by Facebook because he speaks truth. Okay. Permanently suspended. Tracy, you got to work to get permanently suspended. Wait, your voice trailed off at the end. Tell people what? That's amazing that he does that. Wow. Wow. That's funny. That's funny. Good morning, Beth Settle. You are up early. 6:36. Yeah, Tracy Bogart, I am amazed at how much you get banned. Yeah, I hope to get to it. Yeah. We'll come in. You're going to play the music. That'll reference it. I'll have Shannon tell us what the poll question is. We'll do high five. And then with the remainder of the segment, we'll play the Barkley audio and react to it. Cool. Shannon, I just saw your message in the chat and responded. So there's that. So Shannon, we will come back. We'll do poll question, which is about Barkley. We'll do the high five play of the day. And then we have audio of Charles Barkley on a podcast talking about it. And then we'll react to it. Cool. Jason Paniagua. Yeah. Both of you with very colorful aliases. Tracy, how do you get banned from Facebook 27 times? What kind of an agitator are you, man? I think it's probably Trey Ware turning you in.
Oh, down beside that red firelight. Oh, fat bottom girls, you make the rockin' world go round.
Fat Bottom Girls by Queen. Always thought that was a peculiar song, but it was a big hit in the 70s. Welcome in. It is the Chris Duel Show with Shannon Salty Sweeney, Dave Ayler, your soundscape stylist. And Dave, we haven't introduced you yet. Darn it. I am so rude. What kind of a host am I to do an entire segment and you're the one who makes the show go? And I didn't even introduce you to our wonderful audience. How are you doing? How are you doing this morning?
I'm doing good. I've just declared a plain shirt for Wednesday because you always make fun of me when I wear a plain shirt. So, and that's what I'm wearing today.
You got a lot of plain shirts, man. I don't have nearly as many plain shirts. Well, and again, you don't buy into the culture and, designer culture. And I'm wearing an Astros T-shirt today and cap in honor of Jose Altuve's walk-off grand slam in the bottom of the 10th.
That was awesome.
Whoa!
And I'm a okay Astros fan. I don't have any problem with the Astros. I don't dislike them like so many other people do.
Good for you.
But that was a great walk-off grand slam. Doesn't get any better than that.
And I'm looking at Shannon wearing the Austin FC jersey. Is that a T-shirt or a jersey this morning?
It's a T-shirt, limited edition from the Yeti announcement, where they announced they would be the official jersey sponsor. So it's kind of like a jersey.
A jersey.
It's got a 21 on the back for our inaugural season.
Nice. I wonder if there is a number 21 for Austin FC. We got to find out who that dude is if he exists.
Usually in soccer, the numbers only go up to as far as how many players are on the team.
Whoa. Okay. See, I didn't fully realize that. Okay.
I don't know. Because they also carry different rosters for Like MLS team has one roster, and then like the Olympics, you carry less players than you do at a World Cup.
Yeah.
They try and make it as confusing as possible.
This,
I've learned.
and help me out if I got this right, Shannon, this Saturday at Q2 Stadium in Austin FC, home opener versus the San Jose Earthquakes, which is a big deal.
Huge deal. And for the 21,000 plus that are on that wait list and don't have tickets, maybe one of them, come join me at High Five.
Yes.
And I'll tell you why as we get into our High Five play of the day.
We will get into that. Before we do that, well, and this will be a little bit of a tease, Dave played Fat Bottom Girls by Queen. There was a reason for that. Charles Barkley, who for years and years and years has been making fun of the women in San Antonio, often calling them big women, among other things. Apparently, TNT has said no more, Charles. We'll play you some audio from Charles Barkley reacting to that in just a moment after the High Five play of the day. But Shannon, it did motivate our poll question this morning.
It certainly did. So go over there and vote now before we start talking about it. We're asking, should Charles Barkley be prohibited from making fun of big San Antonio women on TNT broadcasts? You can vote at Ticket716 at AM 1300 The Zone on Twitter, or join us on our video stream, YouTube, Twitch, and Facebook, and hit us in the comments, and we'll see what you have to say.
Very cool. And we'll hear from Charles Barkley in just a moment. Shannon mentioned it. Let's do it. We do it at this time every moment. Somebody in the world of sports or somebody in the world deserves a high five each and every morning, and we deliver that. It is the High Five play of the day. And Shannon, as you mentioned, High Five, not just the name of the segment, but a great venue in Austin, 2 locations. And you are going to be part of a big watch party at High Five coming up.
Yes, High Five, an official Austin FC pub club. Come hang out with me this Saturday beginning at 7 for an Austin FC watch party as they open their stadium at home for the first time this season, just down the street from us. It's Saturday, but they're going to be doing their Sippin' Sunday specials. So it's $5 12-inch pizzas, $15 craft pitchers, $12 domestic pitchers. Come early, play our unlimited arcade games for $10. They're also going to be having an axe throwing competition. If you hit the bullseye, you are entered to win a $50 High Five gift card. Again, that's High Five on Anderson Lane this Saturday. The fun starts at 7. Hopefully the weather will be nicer to us this time around. Won't be rainy. We'll be able to sit out on the patio and enjoy the game out there as well. Sir, today's High Five is to a guy that I don't typically want to give high fives to. It's Mr. Aaron Rodgers. Okay, I've got some personal beef with this man, but I have to give him props because I love when people play petty and when people troll. And so making it a petty troll move yesterday from Aaron Rodgers, we just have to give him a high five for this because, as we know, his president over at the Packers organization has kind of been dragging him in the mud by speaking out towards the fans and kind of mentioning him without mentioning him. So yesterday, as we're gearing up to get closer and closer to the match, which features Aaron Rodgers versus Tom Brady, teamed up with Phil Mickelson and Bryson DeChambeau, they had the match chat, a virtual Zoom-like chat between the 4 of them. And, much like you and I and Dave, we're part of our whole personality is what we wear because we're on video each and every day. It's up there for forever. Anyone can go see it before, during, and after the show. And so Mr. Aaron Rodgers, with that in mind, took the liberty to wear a shirt yesterday with not only an angry emoji on it, but the words "I'm offended" on it as well. He even went on to he was asked about his off season, and he says that he's really enjoyed an off season without any obligations. That late in his career, he's enjoyed just kind of being able to do his own thing and work out at his own rate. Again, another aside to the Packers is he has not appeared at minicamp and doesn't look like he will appear anytime soon. Again, I'm not a huge Aaron Rodgers fan, but I have to give him a high five for this petty move.
And again, I think part of why we don't like Aaron Rodgers when we don't is he is kind of moody and sometimes takes himself too seriously, we think. And, here he is kind of poking fun at himself, even with the "I'm offended" and poking fun at the situation. Yeah, I agree. I thought that was a funny choice for him to make with a T-shirt.
Also on that chat, Tom Brady again mentioning, the NFC Championship game between the Packers and the Bucks, where they took Aaron Rodgers off the field and they ultimately lost that game. Not only does Tom Brady need to he's done too many jokes about it now. He's officially like a dad joke guy. Like he finds that one thing that's like, ha, funny, and then he just wears it out. It's worn out, Tom. We get it. Move on. You already won the Super Bowl. We don't need to hear about it. And Aaron Rodgers certainly does it. But Aaron Rodgers was used it as an opportunity to take a jab at the Packers, saying he usually doesn't get to make those decisions. So it's not like he can be upset about a decision that he didn't make himself, right? He can't blame it on himself for that one. But there you have it. Today's high five play of the day to you, Mr. Aaron. I'm offended, Rodgers.
And it's so interesting, I think, Shannon, that we've got this golf match coming up involving Tom Brady and Aaron Rodgers, and the fact that I really believe what fueled to a certain extent Aaron Rodgers' displeasure in Green Bay is Tom Brady. Tom Brady was not happy in New England, was not getting the support he believed he had earned, and so he moved on to greener pastures. Unlike Aaron, Tom Brady was a free agent and free to do it. Aaron, not a free agent this year, but I think Aaron Rodgers looks at his situation in Green Bay and says, I'm not getting what I need to be as successful here as I should be. And I want to move on, and I want to find a greener pastures like Tom Brady did. And here they are on the video yesterday, and here they will be on the golf course together. I think it's kind of interesting.
I'm excited for the match even more so now, especially without knowing where Aaron Rodgers will play next season.
Yes.
A lot of people still think it'll be the Packers, but even thinking of, I know the idea of like a Denver has been tossed around. It's almost like he's jumping ship to avoid an Aaron Rodgers until he gets to a Super Bowl, if that were to happen, because I think Brady will always be there if he sticks with the Packers, and Lord knows how upset he would be if they made it back to that championship game and once again were defeated by Tom Brady and his Bucs.
Yeah, and we've mentioned it many times. The Buccaneers returning everybody from their Super Bowl roster, which is extremely rare after you win a Super Bowl. All right, back to Charles Barkley. If you're in San Antonio, if you're a Spurs fan, you know about this. And even if you're not, you probably heard it. It's been going on for years. Charles Barkley making fun of women in San Antonio, calling them big. Whenever the Spurs would be in the playoffs and the Spurs would advance in the playoffs, Charles on that panel on TNT with Kenny the Jet Smith and Shaquille O'Neal and Ernie Johnson. Shaq would always go, going back to San Antonio, they got them big women. They got them big women in San Antonio. And I must admit, the first time I heard it many years ago, I was like, dude, really? You need to say you're kind of a big guy yourself, Charles. And kind of that was the joke in a sense. Here's Charles, a big guy, seeming to make fun of big women. I grew, and I like Charles a lot. I grew to kind of appreciate the trolling of San Antonio, and in this case, San Antonio women. We'll talk about it. And again, though, I'm very aware of the fact I'm not a woman. So I certainly want to get a female perspective on this, and we'll get one from Shannon here in a moment. But Charles Barkley on a podcast this week revealed that he can no longer on the TNT broadcasts make fun of San Antonio women. He's been stopped from doing that. Let's listen to Charles and we'll react on the other side.
If you crack a joke the wrong way, they're like, oh, no. You crossed the line. I mean, they won't even let me talk about San Antonio anymore. When I'm always talking about them big old women down in San Antonio, they're like, Charles, we got one lady wrote an article. Like, first of all, I didn't call anybody personally fat in San Antonio. I was just joking around. And this one lady wrote this article. I'm like, so y'all gonna let one lady? We've been having fun with this for probably 10, 15 years. and when we go to San Antonio, the people are having a blast with it. I mean, the people in San Antonio, they had T-shirts made up. Now, I don't have to go back there anymore because their team sucked.
Oh, didn't like now. Okay, now he lost me on that part, Shannon. He said you don't have to go back to San Antonio anymore because their team sucks. But we'll let that go for the moment. Just in general, Charles Barkley making fun of San Antonio women and calling them big old women in San Antonio. Your thoughts about that?
I do agree that he's not calling out any individual, right? So there's no need to take personal offense to this. But I do get, I mean, he's like, I've been doing this for 10, 15 years. I'm like, men have been getting away with a lot of things for much more than that. And
Yeah.
we are now, Me Too movement, all of that. And I think too, like, you're on the TNT broadcast to talk basketball and not sit here and poke fun at a demographic or just a certain region and then the people that live there, right? And so when that becomes the running thing other than what you're there and getting paid to do, you probably need to cut it out. And I don't know the higher ups at TNT and that network and who's running the show and who gets the final say. And so who made this decision to say, hey, it's enough at this point. I don't think he cares, right? I mean, he's
Yeah.
fine. If they decide to fire him, he'll be fine. He'll probably end up on a podcast saying whatever he wants to say there, probably to some be even more entertaining than what he already does on TNT. And two, like, also as someone who's not a Spurs fan, so has never been super, like, I haven't really paid attention when the Spurs are in the finals or in those championship runs.
How dare you?
I haven't like heard everything Barkley has said. So this is really not the first time. I know it's a thing, but I don't know the specifics of it. So I don't know just how nitty gritty he got, or if it's just kind of been that same blanket statement. But again, he didn't, I mean, I'm not offended by it. If he were to say that about specifically Austin women, like,
Yeah.
just, I don't know, but that's just me. I can understand if you take offense to it, and you totally have that right.
Yeah. And again, I've over the years kind of found it kind of funny, but I do realize I'm a guy and not a woman. If I were a woman, and especially if I were a woman who was battling a weight issue, maybe I'd be more sensitive to it. By the way, the one reporter that wrote about it that he's mentioning.
Have you read that?
I have read it. Her name is Madeline Mendoza. She's with the San Antonio Express News. She's on Twitter at Maddie Sky. She's I've always enjoyed. She kind of writes about pop culture. I've always kind of enjoyed what she writes, but she makes an interesting point. So I love the point that you just made. One of Charles's defenses was, well, we've been doing it for like 15 years. I mean, come on. Now we have to stop. I mean, you can say that about anything. You can say, well, we haven't given women the right to vote for hundreds of years in America. Right. So, we've discriminated against people of color for hundreds of years. I mean, that's.
And in an age of where, May was Mental Health Awareness Month, right? And then we're so much more open now about talking about things like that and people who have, eating disorders and body positivity. And so for something like that to have that big of a platform, prime time during the playoffs, right, on a major network, that's not needed.
Yeah. And again, I know there are a lot of people who say cancel culture, this is going too far, but yeah. And I mean, even if you're not in San Antonio, but you've got body issues and weight issues and you're struggling and you hear, so I mean, I get it. It's our poll question. Should Charles Barkley be stopped?
Most people voting no.
Yeah. Wow. Interesting.
People voting no.
And again, I'm not an emphatic stop this, but, and I have laughed at it, but I just, if there's some people out there who have an issue with it. Anyway, we'll talk more about that. Coming up, the big iHeartRadio music announcement. Don't go anywhere. We'll have it. We'll react to it on the Chris Duel Show. Louisa says, and Louisa, I would rather have a female perspective on this. So we got one from Shannon, and Louisa says, I'm tired of Barkley calling out the women in San Antonio. It's old and it's offensive to our city. It's called bullying. So there's that. There's that way of looking at it. Yeah, and I'm also, when there's a race issue, I've been, on the radio before and noticing, we're talking about a race issue and it's like 3 or 4 white people talking about it. So I think it's always important.
I think it's also like Michael Jordan saying Republicans buy shoes too. It's like a lot of people like to watch basketball And not to say that a certain percentage of the audience is who you're talking about, but I mean, San Antonio is obviously a huge NBA market. And I don't know, like, he probably has fans, right? And that probably hurts those fans more to think, like, if I were to ever meet him, he would think less of me because of what I look like or the assumptions he has about me from where I'm from.
That's a I didn't think about that. Yeah. What if you're a fan of Charles in San Antonio and you're a woman with weight issues and you ran into him? Would you be self-conscious? That's wow. That's big. That's a big point. All right, everybody, the big iHeart announcement coming up here. And let me just check with Dave. So, Dave, we're going to come in, start the show as usual, and then right away, we're going to go, here comes the big announcement. Fasten your seatbelt, iHeartRadio, and I'll just cue you and we'll go. Okay, cool. All right, there's that. Let's see. I have to edit some audio, which is always fun. Frank Valdez. Yeah, Jeff Green did show up last night, Frank. I got 27 points off the bench for Jeff Green. You were right to bring him up. We'll probably talk more about that coming up. Okay, now what am I looking for? File open. Is that it? I think that's it, right? I think. Let's find out. Time is running out on Diamonds. Yep, it is. Okay. And I have a screw up here somewhere. Time is running out on Diamonds Direct's amazing finance offer. Chris, you're Ah. Now till June 30th to take advantage of this. Don't wait any longer. You can pick any item at Diamonds Direct, pay nothing down, and spread your payments over 5 years without a dime in interest. This makes everything affordable. An $8,000 diamond tennis bracelet comes out to just $134 a month. A $12,000 pair of diamond stud earrings, just $200 a month. It's a great time to upgrade your diamond or celebrate an anniversary with a stunning eternity band or designer necklace. You're going to get the best. There it is. A designer necklace. Ah. A designer necklace. Eternity band or designer necklace. You're going to get the best diamond or designer necklace. You're going to get the designer or designer necklace. Eternity band or designer necklace. You're going to get Ah.
is running out on Diamonds Direct's amazing finance offer. Chris here. You got now until June 30th to take advantage of this. Don't wait any longer. You can pick any item at Diamonds Direct, pay nothing down, and spread your payments over 5 years without a dime in interest. This makes everything affordable. An $8,000 diamond tennis bracelet comes out to just $134 a month. A $12,000 pair of diamond stud earrings, just $200 a month. It's a great time to upgrade your diamond or celebrate an anniversary with a stunning eternity band or designer necklace. You're going to get the best Diamonds Direct price, and you can lock in 5 years financing with 0 interest. An opportunity like this doesn't come around very often, so don't miss this. In fact, Diamonds Direct will be open this Sunday for your convenience. 5 years, 0 interest financing now through June 30th, only at Diamonds Direct. Get in their beautiful showroom this week. Get directions and hours at diamondsdirect.com. Diamonds Direct.
Okay, let's do this. This is June 21st through the 27th. 21.
Chris here. Oh my goodness, time is running out on Diamonds Direct's amazing finance offer. You've got until June 30th to take advantage of this. Don't wait any longer. You can pick any item at Diamonds Direct, pay nothing down, and spread your payments over 5 years without paying a dime in interest. This makes everything affordable. An $8,000 diamond tennis bracelet comes out to just $134 a month. A $12,000 pair of diamond stud earrings, just $200 a month. It's a great time to upgrade your diamond or celebrate an anniversary with a stunning eternity band or diamond necklace. You're going to get the best Diamonds Direct price, and you can lock in 5 years financing with 0 interest. An opportunity like this doesn't come around often, so don't miss this. In fact, Diamonds Direct will be open this Sunday for your convenience. 5 years, 0 interest financing now through June 30th, only at Diamonds Direct on approved credit. Get in their beautiful showroom this week. Get directions and hours at diamondsdirect.com. Diamonds Direct.
Michelle Johnson, good morning. Forgive me, everybody. I've got to edit a commercial. Actually, a few of them, but I'm always so long-winded. I always go over 60. They're 60-second commercials. So I wind up having to go back and cut out breaths, which usually helps. And of course, now the computer's getting weird on me. Don't do that. We're almost back. We're close. Come on. One more. Let's do this. Big announcement coming. Michelle says Hook'em Horns baseball Sunday. Game 1 in Omaha. Michelle against Mississippi State. Got to stand. I haven't stood up in 35 minutes. That's not good. Here we come.
Night divides the day. Try to run, try to hide. Break on through to the up.
Here we go.
Chris Duel.
So much going on in the world of sports on this Wednesday and in the world of music as we are moments away from a big, big live announcement from the iHeart Music Festival. We'll bring that to you. Shannon and I will react live. It is the Chris Duel Show with Shannon Salty Sweeney, Dave Ayler, your soundscape stylist. We are reacting to all the NBA action. Kevin Durant going off last night, maybe his greatest game as a pro. We talked a lot about it in the 6 o'clock hour. We'll continue to talk about it. Two pivotal game 5s tonight in the NBA. A walk-off 10th inning, bottom of the 10th inning grand slam for the victory by Jose Altuve last night as the Astros beat the Texas Rangers 6-3. We'll get into everything in the world of sports between now and 9 o'clock. But now, Shannon, Dave, we will all listen. Here it is, a big announcement. If you love music, and everybody loves music, here it is, the huge announcement from the iHeart Music Festival.
Let's make some noise, y'all. Get up out of your seats, man. iHeartRadio Music Festival.
Hey, it is Ryan Seacrest here with the moment you've been waiting more than a year for. As the world begins to open back up, we can finally get back to the things we love doing. Live music is something we missed dearly in 2020, but now it is back. Get ready to experience the music you love in person, September 17th and 18th in Las Vegas, where you'll witness live performances that will never be forgotten. Here is this year's superstar lineup for our 2021 iHeartRadio Music Festival. On the T-Mobile Arena stage, Friday and Saturday night, you'll see Billie Eilish, Cheap Trick, Coldplay, Dua Lipa, Florida Georgia Line, Journey, Khalid, Lil Baby, Maroon 5, Nelly, Sam Hunt, and Weezer. And now here's who's playing the daytime stage at Area 15 on Saturday. Da Baby, Olivia Rodrigo, The Kid Leroy, Saweetie, All Time Low, 24K Golden, Russell Dickerson, Young Blood, Gabby Barrett, Tate McRae, Conan Gray, Addison Rae, and even more names will continue to be added to those lineups. Tickets go on sale to the general public next Friday, June 25th at 2 p.m. Eastern, 11 a.m. Pacific through AXS.com. And Capital One cardholders are getting exclusive access to tickets before the general public during the pre-sale starting June 23rd for 48 hours while supplies last. Visit iHeartRadio.com/Capital One for details. Today, you'll have chances to win your way to our 2021 iHeartRadio Music Festival before tickets even go on sale. Your first chance to win coming up just a little while right here. Make plans to join us on September 17th and 18th, streaming on the CW app and CWTV.com and broadcasting on iHeartRadio stations all across America. Live music is back at our 2021 iHeartRadio Music Festival. iHeartRadio.
Whoa! Oh yeah, Shannon, are you just on the floor with excitement? Listen to that crowd. Listen to that crowd in our radio studios, just going crazy.
I mean, what's so crazy is that I think typically you think of like the daytime stage as the appetizer, right? And the festival is the entree, but I think they both sound equally as awesome as far as a jam-packed lineup. And what's so great about this festival is there's only so many tickets, and if you can't get tickets, you can see it on TV.
Yeah, it's televised.
It's televised.
It's very cool.
Which and because it's televised, I love seeing the different stage design every year. That's one of my favorite parts
Mm-hmm.
to that whole thing. So I'm excited. I will be out of town in Florida on my vacation, but there's a good chance that I will make time to get back to the hotel room and take in some of these performances.
Very, very cool. Yeah, I see Michelle Johnson on Facebook Live. She's joining us this morning from Marysville, Kansas. She says, I love Cheap Trick and Journey. Those were a couple of the old school acts that I recognize. Billie Eilish, the first name they mentioned. Cheap Trick, Coldplay, Journey, Khalid, Lil Baby, Maroon 5, a big deal. Nelly, Weezer.
Yeah.
Woo!
And a lot of those acts, too, coming to ACL Festival just a month later. So again, just a little snippet of what you'll probably get if you're lucky enough to go to ACL Festival. I mean, this is huge. And like Ryan said, I mean, we didn't get to do this last year.
You are correct.
That long.
Yeah, it's been a long time.
At times it seems like time is going by so quickly, but it's back.
Very cool. Now you said, and I must admit, and again, I'm an old guy. Okay. I love the Beatles. I love 60s and 70s classic rock. Uh-huh. So obviously I'm a little out of touch. I got to count on you, Shannon, and Dave Ayler, who is a music aficionado. And we'll ask Dave what he thinks about this lineup here in a moment. But you just said the day stage, is equivalent pretty much as cool as the night stage that was announced. I gotta admit, I didn't recognize a lot. I mean, the day stage, some of the names I wrote down: DaBaby, Olivia Rodrigo, The Kid Leroy, Sweetie, Old Time Low, Russell Dickerson, Tate McRae, Coning Ray, Addison Ray, or Coning Ray. I didn't recognize a lot of the daytime acts.
Russell Dickerson is a great country artist. He was actually a part of our local The Night Before concert before he performed at the day stage for iHeart Country Festival a few years ago.
Okay.
I didn't know who he was before then, but apparently I was drinking with him at the back bar.
Woo!
And then I saw him on stage. I was like, oh, that's who he is. He's great.
I was drinking with that dude.
I think a lot of these artists on the day stage have like one really big hit song that you recognize, that probably, like, I think 24 Karat Golden, who has the song Booed, was played a lot during the college football season. Sweetie has My Type. That's my type. I don't need to sing all the songs for you, but I think there'd be a few songs where you go, I've at least heard that.
Okay.
On something. And Addison Rae's a bit of a weird one because she's a TikTok star who just somehow they're all like, well, now I have a music career.
Wow. Addison Rae started on TikTok.
Yeah. And she's going to be in a Netflix movie. But I mean, hey, if you can work those angles and put yourself in those lanes, more power to you.
Yeah.
Now, don't get me started on the different versions of babies that are doing it. I don't know that I can tell you the difference. DaBaby, Little Baby. I know one of the babies is coming to ACL, but now I'm just confused. I don't know which one is which.
Yeah, I do believe it is DaBaby coming. That's what I wrote down was DaBaby for in Las Vegas. And this will be September 17th through the 18th. As Ryan Seacrest mentioned, AXS.com. You get tickets beginning on June 25th, which is 9 days from now. Mm-hmm. As today we're on June 16th. Dave Ayler. And again, you're not as old as I am, but you're older than Shannon.
I'm catching up to you.
Not quite older than dirt, which is what I am. What did you think of this lineup?
I thought the main stage lineup was a lot more diversified than in previous years. Like
Yeah.
Weezer, Journey, Cheap Trick, those are
Coldplay.
Maroon 5.
Billie Eilish,
Dave.
But Nelly's awesome. I saw Khalid at ACL and he was really good. Sam Hunt is okay. I can kind of take or leave it. Journey is, it's the karaoke Journey because since Steve Perry isn't with him.
Well, it's the
but he's
cool.
pretty good, though.
It's Arnel Pineda from the Philippines, baby.
I think
But
it's
he's
been
actually
fake
pretty good.
Journey longer than it was real Journey.
Yeah, you're
this
right.
point.
Yeah, but the fake Journey isn't bad, and Arnell's a pretty good singer.
And what a great one of my favorite stories ever. How he became the lead singer of Journey.
There's a whole documentary on it.
Yeah, it's a great documentary. And for those who don't know, I'll just say it real quick. He was in the Philippines headlining a Journey tribute band in the Philippines. He gets a call from Neil Schoen, the lead guitarist of Journey in San Francisco, going, "We're looking for a new lead singer. You want to fly to San Francisco and audition for us?" He thought it was a crank call. It was real. He flies from the Philippines to San Francisco, auditions. They love him. The rest is history. And as Shannon mentions, there's a great documentary. So, but yeah, no, but I'm old school. Dave Ayler, Steve Perry. When I think Journey, I think Steve Perry.
And I saw him with Steve Perry, so I think it might be disappointed.
How long ago was that? Like 1988?
It was 86.
Wow.
Was Randy Jackson there? Wasn't he?
He was playing bass with Journey at that
time. Get out.
Yeah.
Randy Jackson was playing bass.
He was. Yeah, he was. He had this like flat top hairdo, 80s hairdo.
He had hair?
Yeah, and he was fat then too.
I don't know, dog. I'm not feeling Don't Stop Believing. I don't know, dog.
And
you're a little pitchy, Steve Perry. You're a little pitchy on that rendition.
Dua Lipa. We forgot to mention Dua Lipa. I don't like her music, but I do like looking at her.
Dua Lipa. See, help me out. I got to see. That's why God created Google Images.
Her
Dua Lipa.
Her current song is Levitating, with I think one of the babies is on that.
And I think Dave Ayler is kind of levitating just thinking about her. Right now.
Yeah, maybe Dave bring us in with some Dua the next segment here. And for those Texas fans,
I don't like her music. I just like looking at her.
Well, I like it. So there you go.
I'll bring up a picture of her.
I like the music.
I'll post a picture on my Facebook.
Texas fans, on September 18th, which is night 2 of the iHeartRadio Music Festival, Texas plays Rice at home. So make sure to set your DVRs if you're going to the game. Which I've done before. I've like the year JT performed, I was at the game and then came home and watched the show.
See, when you say JT, I think James Taylor. So
the original JT?
You're not talking about James Taylor. You're talking about Justin Timberlake. So I get that. I didn't realize Texas plays Rice on September 18th. You know who's a big Rice fan? I think his dad went to Rice. He grew up just totally drinking the Rice University Kool-Aid. Paul Alexander, to this day, he's a big Longhorns fan, but he grew up just a Rice University Owl enthusiast. So,
well, you think of Rice, but you don't really think about enthusiastic fans.
No,
you think like just really, 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 really smart people.
Yeah,
but okay.
And we'll have to give him a hard. We might have to have some kind of a bet between, and he knows he's going to lose, but maybe I'm sure he'll be a good sport about it. But Paul will have Rice, obviously, and you will take the Longhorn. You'll have to
we can play the line instead of win or lose.
There you go.
Whatever the line is.
Give him some points. Give him like 21 points. The line. I wonder what the line is going to be. It'd be around 21. I think that's a good early June 16th guess for the September 18th game between the Longhorns and the Rice Owls. So, woo! There you have it. The iHeartRadio Festival lineup. That was breaking news. Just came down. Our thanks to Ryan Seacrest for that. And we'll have info for you as that gets closer. Now, you put something in the notes. And, by the way, tomorrow, Shannon, on the show, we will do our draft, our U.S. Open draft.
I'm so ready.
Woo!
I have it all picked out.
And you're the defending champion, I do believe. You won the last tournament.
Which means I'm going to get last pick. So
it'll be you, Andy Everett, Tanner Carlson, and me. Now, I had heard that Brooks Koepka and Bryson DeChambeau were not approached by NBC, as the story was early in the week that NBC was going to approach them about maybe pairing them, which is, I think, what most of us would enjoy seeing. It would be highly entertaining for us. But I saw in the show notes this morning, you're saying Bryson DeChambeau kind of poo-pooed the idea. What do you have on that?
Just there's stories going on that he was in fact asked. And it doesn't mean that just because he was asked, and if he had said yes, that it would have been a done deal. But they just kind of tested the waters to see what he thought, and the immediate response from people who saw this was, Bryce has been joking with Brooks that he's living in his head rent free. But to me, it sounds like you don't want to play with him because he's living in the back of your mind. You don't want to have him physically there as well. So it will be interesting. It'll be interesting to see how they play, to see if they're forced to be paired together based on the outcome from Thursday, Friday for those weekend pairings. Because as we know, they tee off based on where they are in the field.
Yeah.
But again, I continue to love it. I've been keeping up with Bryson's YouTube channel.
How is it?
That he posts to pretty regularly. The second episode was basically a week in his life during a tournament, and so I was thinking that would be kind of what we would get to see, hoping that we would at some point get some Brooks content. But that hasn't been the case lately. There was a video where he goes through his clubs, all of his clubs, and the most recent one, he has this trailer for his club sponsor where they have lots and lots of tools to fix clubs, change clubs. They can hang out during rain delays. I don't know. It hasn't been as. At first, I was like, "Oh, he's kind of entertaining. Like he's kind of a normal." And now I'm like, "No, you're still very boring, basic, and nobody likes you."
That's too bad. I kind of like him.
Maybe he'll switch things up again soon.
Yeah.
I don't know.
And he is the defending champion of this tournament.
I'm sure we'll hear about it from his mouth himself.
Yes. So we'll keep an eye on that story. Another thing that we brought up yesterday, now we're down to 37 days from the Olympics. And what I was asking you about yesterday, Shannon, I mean, my goodness, Coach Greg Popovich and assistant coach Steve Kerr of Team USA basketball, we need to finalize a roster, which hasn't happened yet, and I guess isn't going to happen for a while. Apparently, we've got a couple of names of pretty big names, recognizable NBA players who have committed to Team USA for these Tokyo Olympics.
And we know Damian Lillard will be on the squad, and Draymond Green, who I know you are not a big fan of. I take him or leave him. He obviously plays well on the court, so I'm not necessarily upset that he's going to be playing, but it's the idea that he's kind of representing the USA, so I don't want him to do any of those kind of ticky-tacky things he's known for doing on the court. Steve Kerr being the assistant, I'm kind of like, okay, well, hopefully he can manage him, especially with Pop, an OPS coach.
Yes.
I wouldn't. He would not be one of my picks to join my team off the top of my head, knowing that I'm going to represent our country. And I don't know his history with Team USA, if Draymond's been a part of it before, or if he's an alternate, or what the situation with that is. But two big names have been confirmed for that team this summer, and I'm sure we'll get more as we get closer. I mean, we have to fill out a team.
Draymond Green playing for Greg Popovich. That just seems odd.
Seems wrong.
Yeah, because I always go back to what PJ Carlesimo once said: whenever the Spurs acquire a player, either through free agency or the draft, or however they may acquire him, is he a Spur? In other words, is he more about team and less about himself? Can he get over himself? And I've never felt that Draymond Green can get over himself. And you make a good point, though. Sitting right next to Greg Popovich will be Steve Kerr. And if there's anybody who can kind of rein in Draymond Green a little bit, it might be Steve Kerr.
If I'm Pop, I'm just letting Kerr deal with Green the entire time. Just that's your guy.
But if Green acts like an idiot out there on the court, then I would hope that Pop would just sit him. It's like, dude, really? No, sit down. There's the bench. Enjoy it.
I would hope that he represents the country a little bit better than he sometimes ends up representing Golden State with the cheap shots on other players.
cheap shots, bad attitude, and just a total jerk. Typically in post game interviews, not one of my favorites.
Yeah, and he always like takes the mic out of the stand and he's leaning on the podium and he's just got his arms crossed and he's like barely holding the mic to his mouth and he's mumbling it and slobbering all over it. Like, we know you don't want to be here, but at least pretend like you do.
True. In NBA action tonight, we've talked about it, and we'll get back into, and we should. Kevin Durant, a game for the ages last night, carried the Brooklyn Nets on his back, and Shannon giving him even extra love earlier in the show because he is a Texas Longhorn alum. To his credit, he continues to give back to the university quite a bit. Kevin Durant, a triple-double last night, played all 48 minutes for only the third time in his career. 49 points, 17 rebounds, 10 assists. But I saw somebody pointed out, Shannon, on Facebook Live. Yeah, it was Frank Valdez joining us on Facebook Live. He gave props to Jeff Green of the Brooklyn Nets coming off the bench, 27 points off the bench for Jeff Green. You know, we were talking about Blake Griffin really needs to help out with Kyrie Irving out. James Harden, as we mentioned, played all 46 minutes last night, but not a big contributor, certainly points-wise. But Jeff Green with his 27 off the bench in a game you only win by 6, while all eyes and all accolades rain upon Kevin Durant after that game. We should probably give some props to Jeff Green.
Sure. And raise your hand if you had to search who Jeff Green was this morning. Because that certainly wasn't the name that I was thinking would need to step up. But he did.
Yeah.
Props to him.
2 game 5s tonight, as we mentioned earlier, 82% of the time in a 2-2 NBA series. The team that wins game 5 goes on to win that series 82% of the time. So that statistic will be in play tonight twice. Your early game, 6:30 on TNT, the Philadelphia 76ers hosting the Atlanta Hawks. That series tied 2-2. And your late game, 9 o'clock on TNT, which really means tip-off at about 9:20. The Utah Jazz hosting the LA Clippers. That series tied 2-2. I think you know who I'm pulling for in that series. All right, coming up, Shannon's Salty Shakedown. This day in sports history, sports birthdays, and more. We will talk some Houston Astros coming up. Jose Altuve, a grand slam walk-off home run in the bottom of the 9th inning as the Astros, with that one swing of the bat, come back from 3-2 down to win that game 6-3 over the Texas Rangers. We're with you till 9 o'clock this morning. Lots coming at you. Thanks for hanging out with us. You're listening to the Chris Duel Show. Woo. Okay, let's see. I need to do this. Wow, that's long. Oh, Lord. Oh, that's loud. Wow, Jesus. All right. Fonzie J. Rodriguez, good morning. Dodger Stadium at full capacity. Very nice. Are the Astros on the way? I haven't looked at the upcoming schedule lately. Sounds like it. Very cool, sir. Little Eric Clapton for you, a classic. I believe written by Bob Marley. Wasn't this Dave Ayler? Wasn't this originally a Bob Marley or a Bob Marley and the Wailers tune? I'm gonna have to check that out.
I think they did it originally.
Yeah. So it could have been written by Bob Marley. Sure, our big music fans out there go, wait a minute, I know who that was written by. But okay, there's that.
Or somebody in the Bob Marley in his band wrote it. I don't know if it was Bob Marley.
The Wailers.
Yeah, the Wailers.
I think it
Bunny
was.
Wailer, maybe.
We'll Google it. We'll figure it out. Either way, I would imagine on September 15th, Eric Clapton will be singing that song a little bit later in the show. We've been doing it all week, giving away Eric Clapton tickets. We broke the story for you in the 8 o'clock hour on Monday that Eric Clapton is coming to the Frank Irwin Center September 15th. It's going to be a huge show. So much music going on. We were just talking about the iHeart Music Fest. We heard live from Ryan Seacrest at the top of this hour. The iHeart Music Fest coming September 17th and 18th in Las Vegas. You can either go and see those amazing acts live or watch it on television or on the internet. So there's that on the 17th and the 18th. And of course, on the 15th in Austin, Eric Clapton. Less than an hour in the first half hour of the 8 o'clock hour, we will give away those Eric Clapton tickets. In a moment, Shannon's Salty Shakedown. But before that, sports birthdays and this day in sports history. 1978, June 16th, 1978. Cincinnati Reds pitcher Tom Seaver. See, yesterday we talked about the Mets trading him to the Reds for Pat Zachary. Mets, you shouldn't have done it. This day in 1978, Tom Seaver, another no-hitter. He no-hits your St. Louis Cardinals. Dave Ayler, Reds 4, Cardinals nothing, no-hitter for Tom Seaver. And you were telling us not long ago about the angst between the Cincinnati Reds and the St. Louis Cardinals.
Oh, that was way before that time, though. That
Yes.
was when the Reds were good and the Cardinals were mediocre.
And now the Cardinals are generally good and the Reds are mediocre.
Generally.
Things change. A member of that Reds team was Ken Griffey. His son, Ken Griffey Jr., on this day, June 16th in 1993, Ken Griffey Jr. slugs his 100th career home run for the Seattle Mariners. On this day in 1996, the 50th NBA championship was decided. Michael Jordan and the Chicago Bulls beat the Seattle Supersonics 4-2. Those Bulls were pretty good. And on this day in 2002, the U.S. Open, which we'll be doing our draft for tomorrow, but the 2002 U.S. Open was decided on this day at Bethpage State Park. Tiger Woods wins his second U.S. Open title, finishes 3 shots ahead of Phil Mickelson. Some people are expecting Phil Mickelson to do very well at age 50 in the U.S. Open this weekend. That's this day in sports history. Now some sports birthdays. Born on this day in 1951, Panamanian boxer, 4-time world champion in the welterweight division, Roberto Duran. Manos de Piedras, Roberto Duran, who in his fight against Sugar Ray Leonard famously said, no mas, no mas. He wanted no more of that. Roberto Duran, born on this day in 1951 in El Chorrillo, Panama. Happy birthday, Roberto. Born on this day in 1970, Phil Mickelson. Speak of the devil. So, Shannon, that means Phil Mickelson will be 51 playing in the U.S. Open this weekend. He's even older than he was just when he won that other, whatever tournament he won a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah, the little PGA championship.
That little PGA championship. Yeah, he won that at 50.
I forgot.
Now he can win the PGA at 51 because he just turned 51. Happy birthday, Phil Mickelson. 6-time PGA Tour winner. Won the Masters in 04, 06, and 10. Just won the PGA Championship. Born in San Diego, California. And finally, born on this day in 1974, David Fizdale, American basketball, former head coach of the New York Knicks and the Memphis Grizzlies. In fact, when he lost in the playoffs to the Spurs as coach of the Grizzlies, kind of had a meltdown in a post-game press conference.
Take that for data.
Exactly. That's what it was. Take that for data. Well, take the loss, David Fizdale, because you're going down. David Fizdale. Isn't that amazing, Shannon? You say one thing in a press conference and you could be remembered for it. And this is when we think of David Fizdale, we remember that quote. Born in Los Angeles, California on this day in 1974 was David Fizdale, who now I think is looking for a gig somewhere. All right. That's sports birthdays. That's sports history. Now, ladies and gentlemen, it had extra sizzle and salt yesterday. We'll see where it goes this morning on a Wednesday. Here it is, Shannon and her Salty Shakedown.
Well, if yesterday's was sizzling, let's say today's is sticky, because we have an update on the spider tack in the MLB, aka a foreign substance. The MLB now saying that beginning later this month, players will be suspended 10 games if they are caught using a foreign substance, ejected from the game immediately, but suspended for 10 games, which for those that do the math, that equals 2 starts for a pitcher, for a starting pitcher. So a little bit of a slap on the wrist, I would say, more so than any major issue, because they're also still going to get paid for those games that they miss. So I don't know. I feel like it might be worth the risk if you're playing a team that you have to get a win over because of the standings, to go out there and maybe use something like spider tack to get the win, to get some Ks. Okay, you get ejected later on in the game. You have to miss out on 10 games, so you end up not playing 2 games that you would have played anyway. I don't know. I feel like it could be a tactic that maybe it'd be worth the 2-game miss out and 10-game suspension that you're still getting paid for. The only thing is that clubs, should this continue for a specific player, clubs can start to be punished as well. But this all beginning June 21st. Starting pitchers will have to go through, almost like a security check, I guess, with the umpires to make sure that they're not using anything. Relievers will be checked as well as needed. I don't know about this punishment, Chris. It feels like if it's really that bad of an issue, that a 10-game suspension with pay, which only really equals 2 games for those pitchers, isn't enough.
Well, a 10-game suspension with pay.
Yeah.
I mean, that's not so tough.
Yeah, and saying 10 games, again, it's only 2 games that they're really missing because
right.
of the pitchers. Right.
Wow. And again, I'm guessing Major League Baseball just wants more runs, so they're going to crack down on the pitchers. And we'll talk more about it a little bit later, but Tyler Glasnow, a pitcher for the Tampa Bay Rays, injured himself, and he says it's because of this crackdown that he tried pitching without any substance on his hand or put on the ball, and he said it hurt him. So it's weird. It's kind of a weird. Well, and my other thing is this, Shannon, they're going to start it on the 21st, which is Monday.
So get it in while you can, folks.
So today's June 16th. So you've got 4 days to just, knock yourself out.
There's so much baseball to be played before June 21st. So we'll see if it has any effect. And I don't know. We'll see who gets taken out first, because I'm sure that this isn't really going to stop anybody from using it, especially if it is as effective as they say it is. All right, keeping it with the MLB, we've got what I think is a pretty cool contest given the times we're in. And this is happening at Wrigley Field, home of the Cubs. They are doing a sweepstake, and it's a great promotion because the promotion itself isn't going to cost the Cubs nothing, but they're going to sell a lot of tickets, because if you buy tickets between now and July 31st for the remainder of Cubs home games, you are automatically entered to win a work from home, aka home plate at Wrigley Field, which is pretty awesome. I mean, you do a Zoom call and then bam, there you are, Wrigley Field, sitting at home plate, middle of the day. No one else could say that they've done that, especially, we've been working from home. Working from home now during this remote world. I mean, you could work from anywhere. It doesn't have to be your home. You go work at the Starbucks. You go work across the country. I know people that have just like taken their kids on trips, right? Because they're not in school, everything's remote. Why not take the opportunity? So I think this is an awesome giveaway. The only issue I have is that you keep reading the fine print, right? If you win this, you only get an hour. So you're not really working there because you're only there an hour from 9 a.m. to 10 a.m. on a Monday. And you get to bring a friend. So I don't really know if you're working at all other than maybe getting an hour photo opportunity at home plate on Wrigley Field. Cool or not, Chris?
It is cool because it is Wrigley Field and it's iconic, but I still don't fully So, all right. So from 9 to 10 a.m., you can work from home plate.
Yes.
So what, are you going to have like a desk there and a laptop? How's that going to work?
So they sent out a promotional video to promote this, and there is a desk there. An old school computer. So I guess it's really just an hour photo opportunity for you to sit at a desk. Maybe someone will, because I don't know what the Wi-Fi is like out at home plate, right? That maybe they can join their team on a Zoom call to say, look, here I am. But you're also going with a friend. So who knows how much work is actually going to get done? It's a Monday. It's 9 a.m. to 10 a.m. You know, it started off really cool, and then you read the parameters. But nonetheless, I think it's a great play for them to do to sell these tickets, especially now that things are opening back up. So if you're a Cubs fan, go buy your tickets before July 31st to be entered to win that opportunity. All right, finally, we're moving to the world of the NFL, the retired NFL world. I don't know if you saw the story, Chris, but Vince Wilfork, who, of course, was with the Patriots for a very long time, he had a short stint with the Texans where he was pretty heavily featured on Hard Knocks. It's where I fell in love with him. I thought he had a great personality, a great teammate. He's a two-time AFC champion, a two-time Super Bowl champion, and he won a BCS title with the Miami Hurricanes
Wow.
when he was in college. So he's got some hardware. The only problem is his son, 23-year-old Holmes Wilfork, stole that hardware and sold it.
Oh!
So he has been arrested.
Oh.
Apparently, some of this was sold even back in May of 2020, but Vince didn't report it stolen yet because he thought maybe he had just misplaced it. Because they're little rings, like it can happen. That's realistic. But then he finally did report that they were stolen. Someone who actually bought the ring from his son said, "Hey, I bought this from him back in May of 2020 for like $62,000." The son has been arrested and, for theft of over $300,000. No word on whether or not he's actually in jail right now or out on bond, but this is a sticky situation. Hey, my stuff has been stolen. I don't know where it is. It's pretty valuable. Oh, yeah, your son took it and he sold it. And we're going to charge him because he's an adult and it's grand theft. $300,000 worth of jewelry and special jewelry at that. I mean, a lot of guys don't wear their rings around right there. They're more of keepsakes. If you're like Tony Parker, you've got a whole room just for your memorabilia. But can you imagine your own kid
Horrible.
taking your jewelry, and not just your jewelry, because we've seen that before, like rich kids going and pawning their parents' jewelry, but something he worked his career for, and they're one of a kind, and he pawns them off. Horrible. So we'll see what happens to him. Maybe the charge he could drop. I don't know what their relationship is like. I tried to remember, the Hard Knocks with the Texans was in summer of 2015, so that would have made the kid 17 years old at the time. I don't think he was featured at all. Sometimes they have the little kids on there. But this is kind of a heartbreaking story, especially for a guy like Vince Wilfork, who's just known as kind of a bubbly and happy dude. For his kid to do this to him, it's kind of heartbreaking, Chris.
Yeah. Well, and the first guess, and obviously we don't know, I'm speculating, but your first guess when, a 23-year-old is selling family heirlooms like that, you wonder if he's got a drug problem and if he's trying to make some money to support a drug habit. But my God, what an awful betrayal. And as you mentioned, Shannon, Super Bowl rings, these are just, mementos that are priceless, that obviously means so much to a guy like Vince Wilfork. It's God, that's one of the worst stories I have heard. That's awful.
And he does have one ring back from the guy who bought it and said, "I got this from your son," right? Because when you're buying it, because some players do, they sell their rings or whatever, and that's totally fair. They can do that. And so when he bought it from his son, he probably thought, oh, this must be legit. Like he must have given him to his son to sell.
Yeah.
And he returned it, and so he does have one of them back, but it's just so sad, and for it to be all in the family. I don't love it. Definitely a story to keep an eye on. There you have it. There it is. Today's sticky shakedown.
Shakedown, and which brings me down a little bit with that story of Vince Wilfork's son. Then you got to wonder if he's 23. Okay, A, does he live at home? Maybe he does because he stole his father's rings and stuff. And then B, all of a sudden, at least for the one ring that he sold for $62,000, he's got a little extra pocket money, $62,000. Do you all of a sudden notice that your son now has like a lot more toys that he's playing with? God.
Where'd that car come from?
Wow.
I mean, Vince Wilfork, I don't know his financial situation, but he played in the NFL a long time. I would assume he's not hurting. But you might be onto something with something being up with the son for whatever reason, feeling like he needs to go pawn his dad's stuff.
Well, and it's interesting, you immediately, and I think most people would assume Vince Wilfork is not hurting, but we've heard the statistics. So many of these NFL players come into the league and they don't know how to manage money. You get an agent and right away, your agent takes a percentage off the top. And a lot of times these players will get a very expensive house with a lot of house payments and upkeep and get very expensive cars. And, before you know it, when they go out of the league, a lot of the payments they have on a lot of these things, then every hanger on wants some money and everybody is approaching you. I mean, even Tim Duncan had a guy screw him over on investments. He had a financial advisor, I believe that was his position, whom Tim Duncan trusted, who took a lot of Tim Duncan's money, under the guise of investments. Tim Duncan had to go to court to try to get some of the money back. So, these athletes who make multi-million dollars wind up becoming targets of people. And so they often leave the league with not a lot of money. I hope that's not the case for Vince Wilfork. I hope he's doing well, but because especially after this tough story.
This happened in Galveston County, so I'm not sure if just the son lives there and that's where he brought the stuff to sell it, or if Vince is still living in that area because he was with the Houston Texans. But that's not like, there are areas of Houston you can live in that'll cost you an arm and a leg. It sounds like he's just kind of hanging out, living his life down there in Galveston County, which is a great area, by the way.
Yeah, I like Galveston. Cool. All right, coming up, we got lots more to talk about. We will get back into Charles Barkley being now prohibited by TNT, apparently, from dogging what he calls big San Antonio women. Astros walk-off grand slam, bottom of the 10th inning last night to win the game from Jose Altuve. Kevin Durant's big night last night for the Brooklyn Nets. 2 huge game 5s tonight in the NBA. We'll get into that. We'll talk NFL football and more. She's Shannon Salty Sweeney. Dave Ayler is your Soundscape stylist. I'm Chris, with you till 9 on the Chris Duel Show. Jason, I don't know if that was Vince with the he was very memorable on Hard Knocks, though, so maybe that was him in the big overalls that you're talking about.
This is the Chris Duel Show.
You know the day is stars tonight. Night divides the day. Try to run, try to hide. They don't do.
Now, Chris Duel.
What a Wednesday. What a Wednesday in the world of sports. What a night last night. Kevin Durant goes off for the Brooklyn Nets as they come from 17 down and they beat the Milwaukee Bucks. We'll talk about that coming up. Texas Rangers were leading the Houston Astros 3-2 in the bottom of the 10th inning at Minute Maid Park last night when Jose Altuve came to bat for the Astros. Altuve with the 10th inning walk-off grand slam in one swing of the bat. We go from 3-2 Rangers to 6-3 and a victory for the Houston Astros, which is a beautiful thing. Astros win. We talked about Charles Barkley. In fact, it's our poll question. Charles Barkley, we've got audio. We played it for you earlier. He apparently now is being prohibited by the powers that be at TNT from dogging San Antonio women, whom he has called big women, among other things, for several years. Apparently, TNT saying, you can't do that anymore, Charles Barkley, which Shannon, I've got mixed emotions about. I mean, we talked it through earlier in the show. It is our poll question this morning. Should Charles be prohibited from talking about quote unquote big San Antonio women? In fact, let's start there. How's the poll question looking? A lot of support for Charles being Charles last time I looked at this poll.
Yeah, 72% saying no, he should not be prohibited from making fun of quote unquote big San Antonio women on the TNT broadcast. It'd be an end of an era for sure. And
Yes.
chapter and life of Charles Barkley, as that has become one of his many shticks.
Yeah.
He's becoming a broadcaster for the league. And I believe, I don't know if it was from that same interview you played of him, but I believe at some point I saw something where he said, you know, he's only going to be doing this for a couple of years and then they can kiss my bleep, you know? So,
Huh.
I don't think he cares. I mean, there's a good chance he'll continue to do what he's doing if they want to get rid of it. I mean, he's kind of got the upper hand here, right? I mean, he is that broadcast. And as much as we love Shaq, like Charles being the other half of Shaq, you don't get the greatness that comes of Shaq without Charles.
Good point. Yeah, I never thought of it that way, but if you think about it, and I've raved about that TNT panel. I think it's the best there ever was. When it doesn't even matter the game, if it's the crummiest game you can imagine, and I see those guys at halftime or after a game, I put down the remote control. It's must-see TV. Ernie Johnson as the anchor, Kenny the Jet Smith, Shaquille O'Neal, as you mentioned, and Charles Barkley. But I never thought, Shannon, who's the MVP, who's the most valuable player, or in this case, participant of that TNT panel. And I never thought it until you just said it. If you took Charles away, if it were Ernie Johnson, Kenny the Jet Smith, Shaq, and then maybe they try to replace him with somebody else, it would not be the same. Charles Barkley is the glue. He's the catalyst. He's the main event that makes that panel otherwise work. I mean, everybody's great. I don't mean to diminish any of the other three, but yeah.
Kenny's just kind of there at times. But I mean, and TNT knows what they're doing by announcing this, and then for Charles to make the rebuttal. I mean, now you're just getting more people to tune in.
True.
To see if he sticks with it, to see if he doesn't. It's all the talk on social. Charles Barkley, #1 trending topic right now online.
Wow.
So, you know, even if it's about a topic that may be touchy or deemed inappropriate, they're still getting all the impressions and the clicks and the views that they could want. So it's not the worst thing in the world for TNT.
No, you're right. But so you have seen a quote from Charles Barkley where he suggests, I'm only doing this for a couple more years.
Right. because I think he how old is he?
I don't know. I'll
I think he said
Google it.
So
60-ish. Yeah.
He's played basketball all his life. He's done this. Like, he should enjoy some retirement time and actually learn how to play golf.
You're good. He was 50. He's 58 years old. And you're 60.
Yeah.
But I got to believe, Shannon, this has got to be a pretty good chunk of change.
Oh, for sure.
So it's a pretty easy gig. All Charles has to do is sit there and be Charles, watch basketball games and be Charles, to walk away from whatever that paycheck is, whether you're 58, 60, or 65. I think this is a good forum for Charles. It's obviously very lucrative and beneficial for TNT. Obviously, for personal reasons, I would hate to see Charles Barkley walk away, but it's an interesting prospect.
I think for him, he's on TV, so he's got a contract, and it probably ends when he turns 60. And if they're going to negotiate and say, hey, you have to turn off this side of you, he's got all this money in the bank. He's like, I only did it because I enjoy it. And if I can't be me, then I'm going to go be me elsewhere. And whether or not that's somebody else who picks him up, or if he just decides to just live his life, because he'll still be around because he's Charles Barkley. Maybe he'll start making more SNL appearances. I don't know. But I think, he definitely has the upper hand in this.
I would think so too. Yeah, he's a superstar on that TNT panel. On Facebook Live, Mike Martinez says #FreeChuck. This is interesting. Earlier, Luisa Alanis, who is joining us on Facebook Live, was critical of Charles Barkley's comments. As you mentioned, Shannon, on the poll question, overwhelmingly people support Chuck being Chuck, giving Charles Barkley the opportunity, what he wants to say. Luisa writes, probably the majority of respondents regarding Barkley are men. That's just a guess. And I said that at the outset, Shannon. Yeah, I'm not offended by Charles Barkley, but he's not directing those comments at me. I'm not a woman, and I'm certainly not a woman in San Antonio who might have some weight issues. And you made a great point earlier in the show. What if there is a woman in San Antonio who's a fan? I mean, we got a lot of Spurs fans in this town. I'm sure there's a lot of women who watch the TNT broadcast. What if there's a woman who's a fan of that TNT broadcast and she just happens to be a little bit overweight, and when she hears those comments, she is hurt by them? And then what if she ever saw Charles Barkley walking on the Riverwalk in San Antonio, which he is prone to do when he's in town, while normally she might go up to him and go, hey, I love you, I'm a big fan. Now maybe not so much if she feels a little offended or perhaps hurt by these comments.
Yeah, I don't mind if you take offense to it. But I voted no. Like, let him do his thing, because it's not. I mean, you can find so much worse than that.
Yes.
And I'd hate that that's the reality, but it is. And to me, I don't. They're jokes, you guys.
Yeah.
People are so soft.
It's clearly
can't handle it.
It's clearly a joke. It's clearly in fun.
And if you don't like it, change the channel.
Charles is a fat guy.
Something else.
Well, and it's funny, you talk about jokes, Shannon. Yesterday on the show, tongue in cheek, I was just being kooky. We did a story about a WNBA player, a woman who was arrested for assault, and she was like, and I was like, hey, usually this is men. These are male athletes.
Or
yeah, exactly. I go, here we go. Okay, congratulations. It's a woman getting arrested for getting it. Somebody tweeted to Ticket 760. Excuse me. What is positive about a woman being arrested for violence? I'm like, dude, it was a joke. I was not celebrating her arrest or her violence. I was just commenting on how rare it was that a woman gets arrested for this in the sports world.
When I get comments like that about something that they didn't like, that what I said or whatever, I always just respond with, thanks for listening. Appreciate it.
But it is.
Tune in tomorrow.
I've heard a lot of comedians, Bill Maher on HBO, on Real Time with Bill Maher, among others, saying that we live in an era now where, almost jokes are now. Whereas before you would just say a throwaway line that was just stupid, or it was kooky, or you're just trying to be funny. And granted, sometimes jokes fall flat. Sometimes you don't think a joke through, and sometimes, yeah, jokes are inappropriate. But we live in a world now where, almost all jokes immediately, there's a certain scrutiny. And if somebody's offended, now they've got social media, so now they can jump on it. Ooh, I'm offended by that. So it's a little weird. And it's a sign of the times. It's where we are.
And again, we're not taking, if you are offended, we're not taking that away from you.
No.
This is our poll question, and it's yes or no. I think, did you vote no, Chris? I voted no.
I voted no too. But I, at the same time,
where I stand from my personal experience and my, and again, I'm not Spurs fan, so I haven't taken to heart anything he's ever said about the Spurs, and I also just haven't been paying attention.
Well, and again, and this has happened a few times, and your buddy Mark Cuban, the owner of the Dallas Mavericks, has trolled San Antonio too. And in both cases, when I first heard Charles say this, them women in San Antonio are big women, we're going to go down there. At first I was like, really? You're a pretty big guy. My immediate, before I realized he was playing and he was trolling, my first knee-jerk reaction was getting angry at Charles. And I did for about 10 minutes, and I thought, he's being funny. Yeah, that's a joke. Relax. And then Mark Cuban, the owner of the Dallas Mavericks, very early on, in I think in a playoff series, I think like 10, 15 years ago, in a playoff series between the Spurs and the Mavericks, Mark Cuban goes, Riverwalk? You call that a river? That's a dirty little creek in San. And of course, I'm very puro San Antonio. My first thought was, damn you, Mark Cuban, how dare you? And then I realized, Mark, it's WWE. Mark Cuban is stirring the pot. He's trolling. He's having fun.
It's similar to the Texas OU rivalry, I think, where we as Texas people joke about how dumb and stupid OU Sooners are.
Oh, but they are. Yeah, I'm sorry.
See, and whenever we have Jeremy, you mentioned how he denied them of their rights to him.
He did, yeah.
So I see it like that as rivalry play.
Yeah.
And that's why I'm not taking offense. I mean, but again, if you are, I'm not telling you how to feel.
Right. And you express, and that's why we put the poll up. We want to take your pulse. We want to see how you feel. Yeah. But generally, and I think, I grew up when I was a kid. There was a comedian named Don Rickles who would come on the Tonight Show, and Don Rickles had this big career. He was an insult comic. He insulted people. He would come on the Tonight Show. He'd insult Johnny. He'd insult the crowd. He'd insult overweight people in the crowd. But it was part of who he is. Don Rickles was going to come out and insult you. And that was part of the fun. And when he came out on the Tonight Show with Johnny Carson, they would play this Matador music when he would come out, because they knew he was going to go after everybody on the panel, everybody famous who he knew, and everybody in the crowd. And that's who he was. And everybody celebrated it. It was like, hey, and if he came at you in the audience, like, hey, I got slammed, I got insulted by insult comic Don Rickles. I just wonder now, would an insult comic like either Don Rickles or Triumph, the insult comic dog from the Conan O'Brien show, would they be allowed to do what they did in 2021?
You'd have to put like a release form when you buy the tickets, basically, like you accept to take part. And that's like, there's a restaurant on the Riverwalk that I can't remember the name. I want to say it's something.
Oh, Boudreaux. No. Dick's Last Resort. Yes.
That's like the thing you go there for, is to be beaten up by, and you get it back. And it was so much fun.
Mm-hmm.
And they put a paper bag on your head, and it's fantastic.
Yeah.
You watching something like Charles, like if you're the one, you can actively change the channel. You can actively not go somewhere. You can actively not see that comic, whatever. You can actively choose not to take part, and that's totally fine.
You can opt out.
Take part. There you are. Accept it.
Very good point. And as we give away the Eric Clapton tickets now, Robert Armstrong on Facebook Live says, do you all remember Mel Brooks? Yeah, the filmmaker and comedian Mel Brooks. Blazing Saddles, maybe his most famous movie, had a lot of really off-color, even racial moments in it, but they were, it was intended as comedy at the time, and you probably could not make the movie Blazing Saddles the way it was made back in the 1970s. All right, we will at this moment give away some Eric Clapton tickets. We're doing it all week. Eric Clapton is coming to the Frank Irwin Center. And Shannon, we leave it up to you on what caller we are going to take.
We did 8 yesterday. We did 5 the day before. So let's go 7. Caller
7.
1-800-707-9760 to win tickets to see Eric Clapton and Jimmy Vaughn September 15th at the Frank Irwin Center in Austin. 1-800-707-9760. Caller number 7 today.
707-9760. Speaking of Charles Barkley, back to the basketball court for a moment. I did see some of his comments last night on TNT, and he was really taking the Milwaukee Bucks to task. We talked about how the Brooklyn Nets, led by maybe the greatest performance in Kevin Durant's NBA career, Brooklyn beats the Bucks 114-108. Kevin Durant puts the team on his back with a triple-double, 49 points, 17 rebounds, 10 assists for Kevin Durant. He played all 48 minutes last night for only the third time in his career. But Barkley was talking about the Milwaukee Bucks defense, how they were not double teaming Kevin Durant. Barkley said, you double team KD, make somebody else beat you, which the Bucks tended to keep doing what they were doing, and Brooklyn came back from 17 down. Milwaukee was leading throughout most of the game, including going into the fourth quarter, and Brooklyn comes back to win it behind Kevin Durant. And I wonder now, Shannon, at 2-0, when Brooklyn seemed to be annihilating the Milwaukee Bucks in this series, you and I were talking about head coach Mike Budenholzer being on the hot seat. Let's assume, and you and I both predict, that Brooklyn is going to go into Milwaukee tomorrow night and win Game 6 and close out the series. Since they took 2 games, and this would be a 4-2 series loss to a very good Brooklyn Nets team, do you think Mike Budenholzer is safe? Would he be off the hook as head coach of the Milwaukee Bucks, or do you think he still may be on the hot seat?
It's hard to gauge, especially for a market like Milwaukee and considering the other markets that are currently open for head coaching positions. It's kind of the question of, do you want him with you or against you? Because last night, I guess you could call that a coaching error to not double. I mean, we talked about the impact of just having Harden on the floor. No, he didn't make a lot of his shots. He did dish the ball very well, but just having him on the floor, you have to respect that he is James Harden. And so if you go up and double KD, Harden might turn it on, whatever, but he's still James Harden. You have to respect him. And so I think that's part of why they didn't end up doubling down on KD last night and chalk that up to coaching or whatever. I think he's okay. I think it will matter how they lose the next game, should they lose, right? Because if this whole series was just a repeat of game 1 and 2, then we have a problem. Then you're ousted for sure. And everyone knows why. But I think it's more of a conversation now, given the fight that Milwaukee put up. And again, it's not like they got trounced last night. I mean, they did blow a huge lead. And maybe they didn't put up the defensive effort they should have to allow KD to go off. But I think he's okay for right now.
And speaking of the NBA, we've got breaking news. Brian Windhorst is reporting Kawhi Leonard is expected to miss tonight's Game 5 at Utah between the Jazz and the LA Clippers. He suffered a knee injury in Game 4. Immediately following that Game 4 victory for the Clippers, he was asked if he'd be good to go for Game 5. He said he would be. But we are hearing this morning out of Los Angeles that Kawhi Leonard expected to miss Game 5 tonight. We talked about, Shannon, that statistic when a series is tied 2-2, winner of Game 5 goes on to win the series 82% of the time.
Right.
That could be big tonight if Kawhi's out of the lineup.
Right. And again, this is a series where everyone's won on their home court. Looking at the line was 2.5. It's only moved to 3 now after this announcement. So I don't know if they'll end up giving the Jazz a little bit more on that side. But again, they've just moved it half a point for this announcement that Kawhi will be out tonight. So interesting to see. I don't know if maybe they're of that mindset of just have them ready for, the home game in a potential Game 7. But that is huge. I thought
Wow.
you were going to say he's like confirmed for the Olympics or something.
No.
Tonight.
Yeah, wow, that's a big development. We'll talk more about that before we go to break. Dave Ayler, we gave away another pair of tickets to see Eric Clapton September 15th at the Frank Irwin Center. Who's our big winner this morning?
Big winner was John Gomez.
John Gomez. Now, yesterday our winner had seen his first concert ever was Eric Clapton. Any cool anecdotes from John Gomez, or he just said, "Hey man, give me the tickets"?
I just said, "Give me the tickets." He was happy though. He's really looking forward to it.
All right, John, we're happy you
if
won
you're
the
not
tickets.
happy when you call in, then you're not the right caller.
No,
We'll take him back.
We
take
will.
those tickets back from you.
Like, John, we were going to give you these tickets. You just,
You were caller 7, but I forgot I didn't know how to count. And
Yeah.
caller 4.
and you just didn't seem excited enough. So congratulations, John Gomez. We will process this big development involving Kawhi Leonard not expected to play tonight for the LA Clippers in game number 5 against the Utah Jazz. We will scour the internets, plural, in honor of George W. Bush. We'll scour the internets, see what's popping in the world of sports, get you ready for this Sports Wednesday, June 16th. She is Shannon Salty Sweeney, Dave Ayler making the show go. We're with you till 9. Thanks for hanging out with us on the Chris Duel Show. All right. I have to finish editing. Yeah.
Coming back when we play Duel Lipa, so if you want to get into the iHeart concert thing again.
Okay.
If you have the rundown, the tickets go on sale, that kind of stuff.
Cool idea. Yeah. Thank you for that. All right. Now, I got to edit one more spot here. Let's see. Which one is that? That can't be right. Good morning, Carl Fisher. Welcome in. John Williams, do you miss the afternoon gig? I'm more of an afternoon and night person, John, just by nature, than a morning person. You know, I mean, happy to do the morning, but I must admit, an afternoon show, which I've normally done most of my time in radio, whether it was here or at WOAI or at the other place on Eisenhower Road across town. Those were always the afternoon. So it's more natural to me in the afternoon. But we're here. So we do it. And it's all good. But I'd be lying if I didn't say I feel like I perform better in the afternoon. All right, so he's coming back with that. Let me see if there's any more Kawhi Leonard news. It's interesting that breaks at 8:35, or I mean, like before that. So, you know, they're on the West Coast. I know they're in Utah tonight. See if ESPN is reporting that yet. Yeah, it was ESPN's Brian Windhorst, so you would think. Whoa, and now CP3 and NBA protocols and out indefinitely. Wow. So that means he's got COVID. Wow, wow, wow. Okay, now are they reporting the Are they reporting the Kawhi story? Kawhi could miss the series now, the rest of the series, according to, wow. Oh, my God. All right.
If you wanna run away with me, I know we're probably saying I can take you for a ride. I had a premonition that we fell into a rhythm where the music don't lie. Glitter in my eyes, shining just the way you lie. If you're feeling like you need a little bit of company, you met me at the perfect time.
Dave Ayler, Dua Lipa. Dave not exactly loving the music, but he enjoys looking at her.
Yes, I do.
Swing, swing.
What is? What, are we turning into the Mike Taylor show now? Are you going to do fart drops next?
I can work some of those in.
No, please don't. I love Mike Taylor. Don't necessarily love the fart drops. But God bless him. God bless. They're hugely popular, and he is the mayor of sports. So Shannon, there you have some Dua Lipa. How you feeling? You feel better?
Yes, and I am also again disappointed that I'm not going to be able to, I don't know, find my way to the iHeart Festival, because sometimes they do ask other people to come work it from other
Yes,
stations.
you're an employee.
It's not available.
Yeah. And if you're just tuning in, part of the reason we're playing that is that's one of the many amazing acts that were announced earlier this morning. We had Ryan Seacrest and the announcement for you just as it happened just after 7 o'clock this morning. The iHeart Music Fest, September 17th and 18th in Las Vegas. In addition to Dua Lipa, some names like Billie Eilish, Cheap Trick, Coldplay, Journey, Khalid, Maroon 5, Nelly, Weezer, Russell Dickerson, who's a hot country act that Shannon schooled us on earlier.
Blues
So,
Tacoma, California.
woo! We're going to have to just sing someday or not on the show. You can sing a whole lot better than I can.
Call it singing. I
I
don't
am.
know if it would come off as such.
Yes. Now, I was going to talk maybe even more about the iHeart Music Festival, but now we've got not one, Shannon, but two huge stories breaking this morning in the NBA that could definitely affect the outcome of who's going to win the NBA title. First of all, we talked about Kawhi Leonard moments ago. Now reporting from ESPN's Ramona Shelburne and Brian Windhorst, not only might Kawhi miss tonight's game against the Utah Jazz, a pivotal game 5 at Utah, but with that right knee injury, he could miss the remainder of the series against the Utah Jazz, which is absolutely mind-blowing. And so, all right, that's one huge story that is breaking this morning. A second huge story, Shannon, Chris Paul, CP3 of the Phoenix Suns, has entered the NBA's health and safety protocols. Translation, it sounds like he may have tested positive for the coronavirus, or maybe someone close to him has. He is now out indefinitely. And according to ESPN's Malika Andrews, this could jeopardize his availability for the Western Conference Finals. My God, Shannon, these are two big stories in the NBA.
I mean, the Kawhi one is almost like, oh, this is why San Antonio had enough with you, right? Because this is what you did.
Yeah.
And we don't know the severity yet of his issue. I would not hope, because you don't want a guy to be hurt, but that it is actually severe to where he's not pulling a Kawhi by not playing in tonight's game or potentially future games. If I am the Suns, I am now hoping that this Clippers Jazz game or series goes to 7.
Yeah.
To extend that time off. Because again, we don't know if Chris Paul is in COVID protocol because he was around somebody, or if he actually has it himself. We don't know whether or not he's vaccinated. We just don't know. So for the hopes that they get him back for the conference finals, they have to cheer for both teams. They have to cheer for
Yeah.
one team tonight and another team the next night, and hope that this series goes to 7.
And, and again, I am just speculating.
I'm happy. I'm like, oh, look at it. We
Right.
didn't have to play them, and they're all crumbling.
Yes. Speaking of Chris Paul, and again, to underscore, this is just speculation. All we know officially is that Chris Paul has entered NBA health and safety protocols. Usually that means either A, he has the coronavirus, or as Shannon just mentioned, maybe someone close to him has tested positive for the coronavirus. But Shannon, if he has tested positive, typically, and this changes a lot as we move through this pandemic, typically that means 2 weeks. Typically, if you've got it, you've got to, display a negative test, and within 2 weeks, and usually it's like you're out for 2 weeks. Again, the NBA may or may not change that policy as things have changed with the virus. We don't know if Chris Paul was vaccinated. Certainly we've heard of people who have been vaccinated, and then it's rare, but it has happened, have subsequently tested positive for the virus. But my God, this just throws a huge potential wrench. I mean, most of us agree that the generator, the guy who has really taken that Phoenix Suns team to another level and enabled them to be here in the Western Conference Finals as they wait for the winner of Clippers or the Utah Jazz, it's been Chris Paul. He's been such a force for that team. I don't think they can confidently go forward in these playoffs without him.
No, I don't think that they would be enough. And you're right. I mean, the NBA throughout the season has kind of changed their rules and regulations in regards to COVID. Not only should you test positive, but should you be under the protocol because you were around somebody. And I think it is different for people who are vaccinated versus people who aren't. So this could really, he could have the potential to be back for the playoffs should they make it. But there is also the potential that he's out for the entire run of that Western Conference Finals. And again, I've wondered this just based on my own reaction to the vaccine, of where my arm really hurt for like 2-3 days after the first one, and then my arm hurt after the second one, but it didn't feel as bad because I had a fever and I had the chills and was out for 2 days. I wonder if players, specifically in the NBA, because the vaccines really started rolling out during the season, if some of them have held off because of the schedule, it being so back to back.
Yeah.
That they didn't want to be out of a game because they couldn't function one of their arms because of the shot, or because they had a fever and had to be quarantined, whatever. I don't know what the numbers are, because I know right now we're getting a lot of feedback about NFL teams and the percentages that they're at, as well as the MLB, but the NBA doesn't seem to be as talked about as much. So I'm not sure. CP3 seems like a guy that would be vaccinated, though.
Yeah. Axel J. Miller on Facebook Live says that if CP3 is vaccinated, his quarantine time would be less than 10 days. Again, a lot of things we don't know. If you're just tuning in, 2 huge NBA stories breaking this hour and this morning. First of all, Kawhi Leonard will miss, or is expected to miss, tonight's game, and according to reporting, could be out for the rest of the series with a knee injury. Utah hosts the Clippers tonight in Game 5. That series tied 2-2. And the second big story, we're just talking about it, Chris Paul, CP3, has entered the NBA health and safety protocol, which tends to mean some level of either exposure or a positive test for the coronavirus. So that certainly affects them. And Shannon, as I look at all of the NBA playoffs, granted, the entire year has been bizarre, but so many teams have issues regarding either injury or now the CP3 story. Obviously, Brooklyn last night with Kyrie Irving out with injury, with James Harden coming back with that hamstring having issues. Philadelphia 76ers, there have been injury issues for Joel Embiid. Tonight, the Sixers host the Atlanta Hawks. That series tied 2-2. We don't know how effective Joel Embiid will be tonight, if he will even go. That's a question. Now Kawhi with the Clippers. So many of these teams now have players either directly with injury issues who are big names. These are all big time players who mean a lot to these teams. Or now you add Chris Paul with health and safety protocols. I don't know that I recall another NBA playoffs that was this close to the conference finals with so many big name players with issues that could keep them off the court.
Yeah, I'm trying to sit here and decide because when the Lakers got knocked out, right? I mean, that the big story was, oh, that market is knocked out. Celtics knocked out, like big markets. The NBA can't be happy about this, right? And now I can't decide if these stories are making people more interested in the playoffs because I think it's a little more up in the air on who could win these series, or if people are tuning away because big stars like Kawhi Leonard, he is not playing tonight. Do you really want to see him play, or the Clippers play at the Jazz with PG-13, who may or may not show up? Tonight will be a test for him because he often gets called out for not being the superstar that he thinks he is and has been talked up to being up to this point in his career. So tonight should be interesting just for that. But again, it's the balance of is this good for the NBA? Is this not good for the NBA? Obviously, you don't want players hurt. You don't want players sick.
Yeah.
But the storylines here are just absolutely insane. But I do think with this news, I mean, if I'm the East, I'm kicking my feet up and thinking if I just get to the finals, it's a wrap. We've got this.
But you've got, I do believe, the Utah Jazz, who you would think would be the beneficiaries tonight if Kawhi Leonard isn't going to play, and he's not expected to play based on the reporting we're hearing this morning. The Jazz, my understanding is they're fairly healthy. So while the Phoenix Suns would be without Chris Paul for we don't know how long in the Western Conference Finals, if the Jazz can win 2 more games, punch their ticket to the Western Conference Finals, they had the best record in the NBA, and Bill Schoening, our go-to guy on NBA playoff analysis, Bill picks Utah versus the Sixers in the finals. But so, I mean, you make a great point. Certainly the Clippers and the Phoenix Suns, each missing key players. So, yeah, going to be fascinating.
I'll continue disrespecting the Jazz and say that a lot of that record came because they were playing in the East, right? And so you play those East team, or excuse me, the West. You play those West teams more than the East teams.
Wow, disrespecting them because they play in the West. What
So
does this come to?
Growing up in like the West being basically the league.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah, just East and 4.
And
like that Suns guy 4.
And let me I have to say this, Shannon, you know me, I don't like Kawhi Leonard. I do want the Clippers to be eliminated, but I didn't want it to be like this. I wanted the Clippers to lose with Kawhi on the floor. I do not wish injury upon him. I will be less satisfied if Utah now eliminates the Clippers and Kawhi isn't playing. That won't satisfy me nearly like it would if Kawhi played.
He's having like a Kevin Garnett moment. Like, oh, my knee.
Well, and as you brought this up minutes ago, the Spurs will say, well, they wouldn't say it, but Spurs fans would say, Kawhi, we've seen this before.
Well.
Yeah. Wow.
He may never play another game in a Clippers uniform.
If I'm Steve Ballmer, I don't know if you want to put your billions of dollars in the new arena on the shoulders of Kawhi Leonard. Wow, what a lot of intrigue tonight in the NBA. Again, 2 games tonight. Philly hosting Atlanta, 6:30 on TNT. That's tied at 2-2. And your late game, apparently without Kawhi, the Utah Jazz hosting the Clippers, 9 o'clock tonight on TNT. That series tied at 2-2.
So that line that had made a slight jump from 2.5 to 3 is now at 7.5 in favor of the Jazz.
Whoa, Vegas has woken up early this morning. Wow.
That's a pretty
That's
big
a
jump.
big jump.
Especially in the playoffs.
And it happened just in the last few minutes. That is huge.
Yeah. For those interested, Sixers favored by 6.5.
Wow.
Over the Hawks tonight.
Going to be interesting. All right, Shannon, our poll question. He was in the news. Apparently TNT has told Charles Barkley, you need to stop making fun of quote unquote big San Antonio women. We asked our listeners, should Charles be stopped from poking fun at San Antonio women? What does our poll voters say?
Our listeners are saying no, keep doing you, Charles. 75% of the vote saying to let him keep doing what he does on those TNT broadcasts. And I'm sure TNT is looking at this poll and taking it into consideration when they manage him throughout these broadcasts.
And those games are on TNT tonight, so tune into Charles tonight and see how he behaves or misbehaves. He is must-see TV. Dave Ayler, spectacular as always, sir. Great job.
Thank you. Let's do it again tomorrow.
Yeah, wear a T-shirt with an insignia or a brand or a team tomorrow.
I'll try to
Or
find
not.
something in my closet
You
for
can't tell him how to dress.
I can't.
you. Yeah,
I know.
come on.
That's a violation.
I'm gonna go to the HR office on you.
That's it. I'm going to get reported.
We have HR.
First Charles Barkley, now me, telling Dave Ayler how to dress. And look at me, like I should give anybody fashion tips
You're gonna
ever.
start calling me fat too?
Yeah, no. Yeah, I'm much fatter than you are. You're a lean, mean fighting machine. Shannon Salty Sweeney, spectacular as always.
You as well, sir.
Let's do this again in 21 hours. Oh, and our big U.S. Open golf draft tomorrow with Andy, Shannon, Tanner, and me. We'll see you tomorrow. Take care.